Okay, so some fairly cool news for Xbox fans. This is something that I think everybody can get on board with, and it's nice to see this type of stuff happen and being talked about at least a little bit. Gives you a little bit of ease, kind of an update and things like that. I think that's very important for Xbox fans, especially given what's happened recently with Xbox. It's like almost coming to a point where us as fans don't know whether we're coming or going. We don't know what Xbox's plans are. They say one thing and then do something completely different. It's just really, really odd, and it's hard to kind of put up with sometimes as a fan. So I do think that we are living kind of as this day-to-day type of situation, which is very unfortunate. But again, fans are fickle. But I think Microsoft is understanding that they have to do interesting things to kind of keep people on board with the Xbox platform going forward and things like that. So this, in my opinion, was really good. Had really good timing, and I'm sure a lot of you guys will agree with that. Let's get into it. I'll give my take on what I think it means as well. Hey, I'm Crap Gamer. This is Crap Gamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. I appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe. I would appreciate that as well. It helps out the channel. Means a lot to me personally. If you guys could do that. I do daily gaming content, so if you guys are looking for something, daily, hey, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. That would be awesome. Now, listen, Microsoft has been very, very kind of quiet as of late when it comes to plans for the future, and I think that makes a lot of sense in some ways, but also it makes people uneasy because Xbox has been such a piss poor place, honestly, to kind of have a platform that's worthwhile, because they've took away all the the exclusives and things like that. So it really kind of makes you think. But this is good news in my opinion. I think we'll probably see some cool stuff here as well from Xbox. It's Microsoft is quote unquote wrapping up the Series X and S era as hardware, and the hardware chief teases what's next, which is good. So it feels as though Microsoft is moving into a new era with Xbox devices, and fresh comments from Microsoft hardware chief confirmed that Team Green is about ready to move on from Xbox Series X and S. In a lengthy post over on LinkedIn, partner head of Xbox design Carl Ledbetter reminisced about this generation of Xbox and how the team built the Series X and S devices to empower people to play and connect with others. He says, and I quote, "As we wrap up this journey with the Xbox Series X and S, the mission behind these consoles echoes everything I've learned over 30 years, to create technology that's powerful, purposeful, and beautifully integrated into people's lives. Xbox is about fun and playing games. The console, the controller, the headset, all of the devices become a reflection of the people who make them, but more importantly, of the people who choose to purchase and use them. These products matter to people. In designing them, we often refer to their expression as intelligent geometry, products that are based in pure geometric form and evoke an impression of precision, craft, and intelligence that will empower people to play and connect with others." The Microsoft executive goes on to talk about how both Xbox Series X and S were designed, and how the system took two different paths in terms of their intended uses. Series X was built to deliver unprecedented power while seamlessly integrating into the modern living room, while Series S rethinks what a next-gen console can be: lightweight, accessible, and uncompromising on performance. It's a big reflection from Ledbetter on how these devices were crafted, and a full post is definitely worth a read if interested, and I'm going to link this in the description so you guys can check it out. The finer detail from someone who was integral for its creation. The Xbox exec does tease a little bit about what's next in terms of from his hardware team, but it's expectedly vague at this stage. In short, he says that his journey is far from over, and he's inspired by what's ahead. So yeah, nice to see that. Again, like, I know probably some people would mention like the Asus ROG Ally or whatever. That's not really Xbox hardware in my opinion. So I've mentioned this numerous times. I think the Xbox Series X is a magnificent console. It's really a great platform. I think the big problem is that they're not doing a good job of selling the platform. And when you make it seem like it's not an integral part of your strategy, people aren't going to buy into what you're trying to sell. So yeah, I mean, that is sort of a big issue and a big problem for Microsoft, probably been Microsoft's biggest issue. And the other thing is like the advertising from Microsoft has been like non-existent. Whatever the case may be, it's like you can afford to make all of these studio purchases and things like that, but you can't afford to sell your platform. Like, I think that is probably something that they should probably work on before too long. It's like if you go back and look at the things that they were doing with Xbox 360, even at the start of Xbox One, really, really hitting hard with a lot of the advertising and things like that. I think that's smart. You have to be able to do that. You have to be able to kind of get people on board with what you're offering. And I don't think they've done that this generation. I mean, and again, they've shot themselves in the foot a lot too, with a lot of the games that they were actually going out there and advertising, even in early on, like 2019, 2020. A majority of those games haven't even come out yet. Ones that did ended up going to PlayStation as well. So, you kind of have to question that a little bit and wonder kind of what Microsoft's thought process is. I'm not sure if we'll ever see, Microsoft come out and nail a big console generation again. I mean, 360 seems like maybe it was a once in a lifetime thing. And, hey, maybe that's okay. Like, I don't know. Like, for me anyway, I look at the 360 and I just think that, that was probably the best. But they also has, a very interesting kind of time, and they understood, that people wanted exclusive games. They wanted new things. They wanted to push boundaries. They wanted, exclusive content. They wanted all this kind of stuff that realistically, they really delivered on. And I think that's important kind of, going forward. I think that's really just a critical type of thing to kind of to think about as a fan, is that you have to be able to offer these things to people that want them. And I think there is a group of people out there that really want an Xbox, but they probably want an Xbox that is just a typical Xbox that plays Xbox games and that really does the things that a console gamer wants. I know that there is like this online group of people that they do nothing but talk about, hey, I would love to be able to have a Steam store or whatever, but I don't think that's the majority or anything like that. So I think that that's kind of disingenuous, to say the least, when you have those people, because I think the majority of people just want something ease of use, kind of plug and play or whatever the case may be. And it's unfortunate that Microsoft hasn't been able to kind of deliver on, hopefully they can deliver on stuff like that in the future. We'll see if that's something that can actually happen. But, again, it's exciting to see them talk about new hardware, because you never know what's going to happen. Like, Microsoft has been a corporation, unfortunately, that realistically, they promise one thing and do something else, or they change course very quickly. So it's hard to really kind of trust them or, believe in them. They almost have that Sega type of feel. Like if you were around back in the day, Sega was a company that, did really well with the Genesis. Then they started coming out with a bunch of, hardware, dropping support very quickly for other hardware. It just didn't end up going over very well with fans, and that sort of killed a lot of the things. And then when they finally did get it right, in my opinion, with like the Dreamcast or whatever, it was unfortunate, because by that point in time, people had already given up and moved on. People had moved on to PlayStation and things like that. So, we'll see what happens. It is nice to see them kind of talk about it. I do wonder like how you're going to be able to sell it to people with like no exclusives. And I understand also that, that it's one of those interesting things where, fans want one thing. They want the ease of use. They want plug and play. That's what consoles are all about. And then when you look at kind of how Microsoft is doing things, it's almost like the exact kind of opposite of that. So, Anyway, I would love your guys' thought and ideas about this. What do you guys think about this? What do you want to see from the next console? Do you want it just to be a powerful next Xbox that's a typical Xbox, or do you want it to do all kinds of weird stuff, and like be able to kind of play different stores from PC and stuff like to me that would be bad because PC games are horribly unoptimized. But anyway, you guys might feel different. Let me know. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.